I'm Kalman Kerry and welcome to this video. Now this one will be the first in the series of videos I'm making about movies, series and sort of pop culture insight into a few things. Basically, I've been following quite a number of YouTubers, movie reviewers, series reviewers, and people who in general voice their opinion about various pop culture products. And I kind of agree with some of them, disagree with a few of them, but in general, there are some things that I've not heard from other people. Some things that kind of went under the radar, and I do feel that that they should be brought to light. And I'm just actually curious if there are other people who notice these little mistakes or little extra things in the movies and series that we've been all watching for the last few decades. I just hope that my videos will be entertaining and bring up new subjects for all the pop culture discussion in the future. Basically, this current one will be about how the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, broke in half. Because it did. A lot of people say that with Endgame, the whole Thanos saga came to an end, and it's kind of like there's no point continuing on with it because the new products are not really entertaining and there's a lot of mistakes and all that, and the whole thing is just confusing now with all the time traveling and multiverse and various dimensional things. But I would say the problem started way earlier. And now you might think that I'm with the part of people who say that, yeah, Civil War was bad because why turn the heroes against each other? And that caused quite a big moral break in the whole story because of that whole antagonistic relationship between Tony and Captain America. But no, I don't think Civil War itself was the problem. But there was one specific scene which sort of threw me out of the movie while we were in the movie theater, in the cinema. Basically, the scene at around 22 minutes when they are shown the video footage about the reasons why the Sokovia Accords would be required. Video footage about their prior level of destruction and why superheroes and beings with superpowers are very dangerous and they need to be kept in check. And that scene, the actual video footage that was displayed, kind of broke the whole thing for me, because it didn't just create a very unjust situation showing that it's kind of made up, kind of forced, and not really legit in any way. But it showed me that the studio itself, the makers of the movie, were kind of pushing in footage that they try to present in a different light than those events displayed actually played out in the previous movies. Like they sort of try to get away with a bit of a white lie in the background, or hoping that people forgot about those movies already, because let's be honest, this took about a decade to go through the whole thing, and that was really disappointing for me. And it showed that either they sort of lost track of what was going on in the previous movies, or just simply don't care. And they just looked up some action scenes, put something together, and then the whole thing was just forgotten. But the whole thing created a very awkward scene, and especially that none of the characters was actually protesting that, hey, that event was not even our fault, or that was something completely different. And I would like to go through the content of this footage. I'm not going to display the footage because I really don't want to end my channel before it actually takes off. So if you want to check, just get the movie on streaming or Blu-ray or whatever, and check back yourself. At the 22nd minute, the scene starts with the footage. So basically, the first part that we see, the first images, are from New York. That is from the end of the first Avengers movie, when Loki was attacking New York with the Chitauri army. from a giant portal from the top, just millions of soldiers and space whales and whatever things were pouring down on New York. And it was basically the first step of a global invasion. They didn't just plan on taking over New York. That was just the first step to open up, to keep the portal open and let the rest of their army come through and create basically a global takeover of planet Earth or global destruction. So the stakes were quite high. Now, the footage that is shown, it shows one of these space whale Chitauri transport beings just coming out from behind one of the buildings. That's about it. And the rest is showing Hulk jumping between the buildings. Like some major level of destruction going on that's supposed to be the fault of the Avengers. It was like, how was that their fault? They were literally fighting a life and death situation to save the planet when an entire planetary takeover was initiated, and they were saving billions of people. And they bring up that, oh yeah, the Hulk was rampaging during that thing, and he was destroying a few windows while jumping from one building to the other, while he was literally taking out the space whales with all their transported soldiers with single punches. So it's like, how is that a problem? It's like saying that yeah, an army that's coming to protect us is just making too much of a mess in my garden. Yeah, but they're saving your life. So that really didn't click. And what makes it actually even more sort of insulting, that a major part of that, the end of that story, was that SHIELD, or the government, basically the powers that be, sent out a nuclear bomb, a nuclear rocket to New York because they wanted to level the whole city and just destroy and get rid of everyone who was there. And that rocket was basically hijacked, diverted by Tony, and flew into the portal to destroy the source of the army. But it was like, now they are complaining that Hulk was rampaging during this whole event, while they themselves wanted to eliminate the entire city, a city inhabited by millions of people. It's like, I don't really think that the Avengers were at fault there. They were like trying to make the best of an impossible situation that you yourself, the government within the movies, were making even worse. And even they used your bigger level of mess up to actually solve permanently the situation, to stop the invasion. So it's like, yeah. So the first scene which is displayed is not really working as a proof that the Sokovia Accords are needed to keep the super beings in check. So that's like, really it doesn't work. The second footage that's shown is from Washington, from the end of the Winter Soldier movie. When, sorry, I don't want to spoil anything, but these movies came out like almost a decade ago, and you can watch it very easily. So just check back on them. And most likely already has seen these movies. Unless you're not a fan of these, then why are you here? So if you're for me, no thanks. But this will be about the Marvel movies. So the second scene is showing the helicarriers of SHIELD, or Hydra, being shot to pieces in the air and falling down and causing a whole bunch of chaos. Now, this one also didn't really work, because who was at fault because of that whole situation? Like, again, the powers that be, the government, SHIELD, and all these related organizations, because for decades they were unable to see that they are slowly being taken over by Hydra. And it's like an insane situation that a spy organization, an intelligence organization, is so unintelligent that they don't even notice that a whole bunch of people were acting weird, and their organization basically was taken over by a parasite organization. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of your fault that the whole thing got derailed. So it's not really the Avengers' fault, because they came into being like decades after this whole thing already started, and it's like, really doesn't make sense. But the destruction itself that's shown in the video footage, the helicarriers are falling down. I went back to actually see that scene, and the helicarriers, basically all of them, fell down either into water or directly onto the base where they were built. So they fell back into their hangar bays or dry docks or whatever you want to call it. So they were not falling on the city, not falling on civilians. They were falling back onto the base where they were built, which was quite lucky. It's like just boom, falling straight back there, while after floating around a bit. So it's like that was a bit pushing it, but still the actual events unfolded in the movie that way, that there were hardly any civilian casualties, because the whole thing fell back in its own footprint, and there was no massive scale of destruction all around the city or all around the country. So that's again something that the Avengers were not at fault, didn't cause the level of destruction that was trying to show, and the whole root of the events was basically Shield's and the government's fault. So again, Avengers were not at fault in that. So it's kind of really silly in that regard. So that's already two scenes that were shown which didn't make any sense as a proof of why the super beings need to be kept in check. Now, the third one is the third scene in that footage is showing Sokovia. End of the Age of Ultron movie. Spoilers again. Ultron had the plan to basically raise the entire city in the air, like in very high elevation, and then just simply drop it back and cause like an artificial meteor impact, and creating such destruction that it would influence the entire planet and make the whole humanity and life itself extinct on the planet. Yeah, something like that. Now, the interesting part here is that the footage shows the city being razed. Okay, that's not destruction in itself, it's just that was used as a tool for the destruction. But then it switches over to showing buildings falling to the side, like one specific building falling over. Now, these were buildings that were already evacuated. Like, there were no civilian casualties, because a good portion of that scene in the Age of Ultron movie was that the Avengers sneaking in and evacuating basically everyone and trying to get everyone out of the city and all that. So they were, again, trying to save a lot of people and trying to minimize any sort of destruction and focusing on saving lives. So they were, again, not really at fault. But someone was at fault in that whole story. Tony Stark. Because he was building Ultron. He created Ultron, and he basically goaded Banner, Bruce Banner, the Hulk, into helping him with it. So he manipulated Banner to get him to create Ultron, and they created an AI that went almost immediately insane. Well, maybe because it was designed by a not really reliable person who was fueled by insane levels of paranoia. Because in that part of the story, movie series, Tony is like going insane with fear, because he had a glimpse of what the cosmic powers out there are, and he's trying to, as he even said, he's trying to create a shield around the entire planet, to arm the entire planet against anything like that. And that sort of messed up mental state caused him to create an AI that like went insane almost immediately. And that is not the Avengers' fault. That's the fault of one specific person, Tony Stark, who's like an unreliable, really weird person in my eyes, who's running around in an almost indestructible armor, wielding weaponry that can eliminate an entire army within a few minutes, and is like, but without it, he's just a normal human being. So I think they should have locked him up way earlier, because he's not really a good person in a sense, because he's doing insane things. Sorry, that might offend a few people, but let's be honest, a whole bunch of stuff was his fault in the whole movie series, the whole saga. So we are at the third scene, the third part of the footage that's being displayed, and with a bit of twisting and looking around, we finally found one person who was responsible for the destruction, and that was Tony Stark. That was none of the super-powered characters. It wasn't Captain America or Thor or Vision or anyone like that. Everyone else was just trying to save people, and Tony was part of the saving operation, but Ultron becoming what it was and even being made was the fault of Tony Stark. So yeah, in that regards, he's responsible. He should have been locked up. There's one more piece of the footage that's being displayed. That's from Lagos. That's from the beginning of the Civil War movie, where Scarlet Witch is trying to contain the explosion of Crossbones. And she's trying to levitate the compressed explosion higher to save the people around them. And midway, basically, she loses control and the explosion hits part of a building, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 stories, and a bunch of people get injured. That was actually an accident. That was actually a problem. I don't really know how that could have been avoided, because if they don't react quick enough, then everybody on the marketplace where they were would have been injured or worse. The whole scene takes part within a city, so if anything could have been done, then maybe they should have waited for them to leave the populated area and catch them on the highway or something like that. So the tactics were not really good, but that wasn't really the problem with superpowers. It was basically an intelligence and a strategy issue in the whole thing. Actually, superpowers in that sense, meaning Scarlet Witch's magical thingamajig, that was actually something that, again, saved lives, minimized the destruction, because if she wouldn't have been there to contain the explosion, the whole thing would have just blasted everyone away and most likely damaged the foundation of the building in a way that it fell over and everyone in the building would be done for. So yeah, again, sort of a sketchy push for blaming it on the Avengers. It was an accident directly linked to one of them, but still, in the whole context, it wasn't like, it could have been far worse. And it wasn't because of their superpowers, it was because of a bad strategy to deal with the whole situation. So yeah, and that's where the scene ends, where the footage ends, and Captain says, "Oh, that's enough, because he sees that Scarlet Witch is kind of feeling bad because of the whole thing." And this is supposed to be the big proof that the Sokovia Accords is needed. And it's not a proof. And to be honest, when I was watching this in the movie theater, I was sitting there and I was, what just happened? Why is none of the characters complaining or trying to explain it and all that? So it's like, it doesn't work. So what they say, that the people with these powers need to be contained, they need to be controlled, and the scenes they show don't give a foundation for that. It doesn't work. It doesn't click in its place. It's not an actual proof. And interestingly, I went through which characters were present at this showing of these footage pieces. Basically, we have War Machine, who was not even part of any of these events. Like he joined later on, and he wasn't simply there. He was just maybe active in the saving part in Sokovia section, but I'm not even sure about that. But basically, he's just sitting there and is just watching footage that's supposed to blaming him as well, and he didn't have anything to do with it. And he's a non-superpowered person. He just has an armor, which, if it's taken away, then that's it. He lost all the power and he's just a regular Joe like everyone else. Then we have Black Widow. Again, no superpowers, just a very highly trained spy. who's been cleared of all previous charges and has been working with the US government and SHIELD for quite a few years. Again, she's not really the type of person that can cause the level of destruction like Thor or Hulk could do. It's like, okay, you can lock her up. Yeah, she's tricky and she's really clever and all that, but she's not the same level that needs to be highly controlled because she can accidentally destroy a city. Now, the other one is Captain America. Yeah, Captain America is a super soldier, got a super soldier serum and treatment and all that. Yeah, meaning he's stronger than the average person, faster than the average person, has a good healing capability, and that's about it. Yeah, he ages a bit slower, but apart from that, like, it's not a living nuclear bomb. It's like it isn't like he can throw his shield and buildings collapse immediately. So he's again a person who's not a danger like Hulk or Thor. So it's like doesn't work for him. Then we have Scarlet Witch. She is a bit of a problem, and she started out as a villain and then turned good. And then if you're following the later series, no one can tell me that she's a good person, and she was a good person because she was just literally going insane. If you've seen WandaVision, that is not a sane person, and even in the end she didn't learn anything. She just unable to accept that she lost her illusions and delusions. So in that regard, Scarlet Witch is a liability and is a problem, and she has superpowers which then later turn out to be magic and prophesized powers and all that. But basically, she is one of the people who is a liability, but wasn't that much part of all the events showing. She came in at the Sokovia section where she was, well, aiding Ultron, but she was ultimately turning against Ultron, warning the others about what Ultron is trying to do. So she was crucial in actually saving the situation and saving people. So again, like morally, she's in the right place within that movie, but her powers do make her a liability. So in that regards, for her specifically, this would be recommended to have some sort of control or make sure that she's not causing any trouble. But basically, as I said with the Lagos situation where the building got damaged, that was lack of strategy, lack of pre-planning the whole thing and thinking about that. You know, what usually superheroes do in a lot of movies, that they start fight and I need to get this person away from the people so that we are not destroying everyone around ourselves. In that regards, we will talk about Man of Steel. That will be a different story, different video. And then we have Tony Stark sitting in background. Yeah, he should feel guilty. Like a whole bunch of stuff was his fault. And if you watch how it should have ended on YouTube, they actually make fun of this, that a whole bunch of stuff was his fault and he should be locked up. He's utterly unreliable. He's literally going insane. No one is checking him that, hey, what the heck is going on with you? And he's just given free rein. And yeah, he wants to be controlled by the Sokovia Accords, but in his case, his ideas are dangerous. Like he's making and creating things and changing things in a way that can really mess things up. So yeah, lock him up and take away his pencil and paper, because that guy is just really creating crazy things. And then we have Falcon, who also just came in at the time of Winter Soldier and wasn't really doing much and is just a regular soldier who is really good with that wing harness, whatever that he's using, and that's about it. So he's not like a super soldier, not even like Hulk or Thor, who literally wields power that can level a city. So again, there's someone being blamed for things that he didn't take part in, and he's not even capable of doing. So yeah, again, doesn't work. And the final person there, sitting there, is in that scene is Vision, who is basically a newborn baby mentally, and I think Vision should have been basically disassembled, because the fact that he was able to raise Thor's hammer, that I think that was some kind of a glitch or mistake, because I do have a problem with Thor's hammer in general, because it's just a messed up idea. But basically, Vision wields an extreme level of power that he can become intangible, super strong, can fly, shoot beams of energy and all that. So he can be really, really destructive. And he's an android created with the programming of program modification from Ultron and Jarvis and all the things, and so it's like a really gray area, like a really unpredictable AI that really shouldn't be running unchecked around. So in his case, yeah, he should have been locked up, disassembled, the stone taken out, and all that, because now the people feel for him and all that. But in regards of liabilities and sources of risk, I wouldn't entrust my life on that android in that sense. Sorry, that might be that my 20 years of working in IT, but I don't trust androids. So these are the people: War Machine, Widow, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Tony Stark, Falcon, Vision. And of these, Tony is responsible for a bunch of stuff, and Scarlet Witch and Vision are the ones capable of doing any large-scale destruction. So basically making everyone a faulty person in this regards, to everyone to blame, it doesn't work. It makes no sense. It's like because of all the I don't know, gun crime, banning all toothpicks. It's like not the same level of things, so it doesn't have anything to do with each other. And that's why this whole scene just broke it for me. From that point on, from this scene in Civil War, I wasn't engaged with these movies. I didn't even expect anything from them. I just went to see what goes on so that I would understand what the people are talking about on the internet. But yeah, in general, it broke in half. Like that rise that was in these movies, that, oh, they're awesome, 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 and then what is going on, and it falls down, and then like, okay, so it seems that not even the writers or the people in the studio making the decisions are taking this seriously. So it just doesn't work. It doesn't click. So yeah, that's why I say that at this specific scene, the MCU broke in half, and whatever happened after that just didn't really make sense. And maybe some people try to put it in the right direction or explain a few things in the background, but it just made a mess with this whole Sokovia Accord, which later they just written out of the stories, like almost behind the scenes. So it's no, it didn't work. It doesn't work. And then we ran into the end of the whole saga with Endgame, with the multiverse and time traveling shenanigans, which really just made a mess of everything. So no wonder the Phase 4 is not even taking off the ground, basically. So yeah, that would be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really would like to see your opinion about this. If I made any mistakes or missed something that would actually put this in a better light. And so feel free to comment, like, dislike. So in general, if you enjoyed it, then likes are highly appreciated. If you would like to see more of this kind of content, then I really would be happy if you could subscribe, because I'm really trying to get this channel off the ground now. And if you would like to share with someone who would find this interesting or useful, then please share the link as much as possible. And if you wish to support me through any other means, then you can support me via Patreon, where I'm sharing early access and exclusive content. Also, you could buy a product or two with my designs on Redbubble, or a copy or two, or 50 or 100 from the Adventures of the Smallest Astronaut Book 1, available in all regions of Amazon. So that would be it for this one, and thank you for your time. Bye.